Hello, welcome to the queue for an intro on Combat Theater Midway HBG game. And this is the blind version where we don't get to see the other's forces. So this is how we have it set up. And one of us will be on one side and the other on the other. The only time we will come together to see what's going on is for the battle boards here. And there's our lovely cup for drawing. So basically all I did was I got a couple of these styrofoam panels and attached them to a 2x4 for my little wall there. And if this works out, we may come up with something a little more permanent, or you know, that's just as well. You can just throw that in the utility room and pull it out when you need it. So US is set up on this side of the board, and there really isn't a ton of changes now that I think about it. One of the changes that we're going to make is, did it stop film? No, it didn't. All right. Our search planes are going to have the option to do 2 searches. So the game starts off with Japanese ships in these 3 zones. And then this zone's down here, so they can try and search. You know, they'll do their search roll there, and after they make their dice roll, we'll take one of the search tokens off, so they have 1 left. Now, if they make contact with ships and then fail on the shadowing, then that'll be like normal. They're out of fuel and they'll have to go back to their base. But say the Japan got the option of moving and they search this sea zone and there's nothing there, they don't lose and have to return to base. They just use a token. So now they've got 1 search left. So now say they come down here to try and search, so their second search, they'll lose that. Now if there's nothing in this sea zone, now they get the out of fuel, they have to return to base. So each search plane is going to have 2 searches available, and we just thought that was kind of needed because you don't know where they are. Now, we also talked about maybe allowing Japan to switch these 3 task forces up. So even though the US knows that's where Japan's coming in, it's not necessarily going to be a carrier. I mean, you could move this battleship group down here. So that gives the US player a wonder, well, do I want to try and search here or one of the others? But I think this first game we're going to leave the ships as they come in. Now, the US ships is different because on turn 1 they can bring in 1. Well, it has 5 different zones. So Japan's not ever going to know where, you know, the US is going to come in. So that it's going to be tougher on Japan to find you know, the US ships. So we're going to give them an extra search plane, and I'll show you that when I get on the Japanese side. So one of the other things we're doing is we're going to use these markers that we got that Moffett Field sent us. They're the cardboard markers like you would see in a lot of war games. And we're going to use those on the US side. They're going to use the Japanese markers. So when one of these search planes, you know, comes in and makes a search here, they can put one of those markers. So US knows that they're searching here in this zone. If they find ships, obviously, you know, you would put your marker out there. The other advantage here is in combat. So there's obviously going to be more planes than this hitting Midway on turn 1. But if you come in here and say you lose a bomber, well, now US is going to take this marker and put it over here. Now they'll also will get the total amount of markers of the planes that are attacking, because we'll see it on the combat, you know, board here. So, but we can track losses with these markers, and then we can also track how many planes have made an attack and will now be moving back towards the carriers to see if, you know, kind of give you an idea. Hey, half their half the Air Force of Japan is in the air and they're out of fuel and they're returning, so we're safe to do some certain things. So we'll use those as trackers, because normally in a game you'd see you know, where the planes are and where the carriers are, so you would know everything. So we're going to use these to kind of help track casualties, track where planes are, you know, what might be going on. We talked about the search. Let's go over to the Japanese side and take a peek at the search plane that we're going to add. And typically, this third reinforcement for Japan has 2 patrol aircraft with the cruisers. We're going to take one of the patrol aircraft and put it down here, and for some reason we're not focusing. Put it down here on this task force here, you know, with the 2 search markers, so it'll have to take off from there. So Japan will have 3 on the board to start, whereas US has 4, but those 2 B-17s, if they drop their bombs, they can get into the search, so they could end up with 5 pretty quick. Or no, that'd be 6. So they still have the search advantage. Got your planes in the air. Everything's the same. We're going to leave these ships set up, and we've got our U.S. search plane here marker. So we know we've got one here. And then when these other U.S. search planes that are over here, when they actually get into the action, actually there's one down here that could spot that. You know, then we'll put out those U.S. markers to help us track the search planes, and then of course the planes that come out from the U.S. But right now, not knowing where the U.S. is going to come is going to be a problem for Japan. So that's my prediction there on the beginning of this game. They've got 2 patrol aircraft to patrol 5 zones. Now, once the carriers come on and they start launching, they won't be moving. They might be easier to pin down, but that was the thinking behind giving Japan this extra patrol plane on the setup as opposed to bringing it in on reinforcements. All right, let's get on with some gameplay.